What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel again. In this video I wanted to talk about the fact that I've started sampling a completely different style of music over the last couple of months, probably going back about 6 months now, and I wanted to talk about that and the reasons for it, and hopefully it can give you some inspiration to try some new genres of music. Maybe it can give you some perspective on the music that you're sampling and maybe make you think about why you're doing that. So basically, if you've been following the channel for a long time, you will know that I spent a lot of time sampling jazzy kind of tracks, piano-based stuff, you know, all that Bill Evans kind of vibe. And I think, to be honest, I actually ended up really overdoing it. And now I've moved a lot more towards soul records and Motown and that kind of style. You could say it's more of a traditional style of sample for boom bap and beat making. And I think that's one of the big things to note as well, that when I started making beats on the SP, it was very much orientated towards that kind of lo-fi sound, that laid-back jazzy vibe. And that wasn't actually the reason I got into beat making in the first place. So before I had the SP, believe it or not, the first ever sampler that I bought was actually an MPC Renaissance, and that's how I got into beat making. I was well into all the boom bap kind of artists. I wanted to make music like that. Things with that didn't really work out, and further down the line I ended up on an SP. Obviously I'm very glad that I found this device, but it definitely changed the style of music that I was making, and I kind of went for that more kind of lo-fi sound, whatever that is these days. But yeah, I think now I've really gone back to the roots of why I started sampling and why I started making music, and I think that's a really important thing. And I think because of a result of that, I'm actually enjoying making beats a lot more, because I feel like this is more of the reason I got into it, if that makes sense. So I did enjoy making some of the jazzy beats that I made. I think I overdid it. I would like to have a break and go back to that and maybe do another project with jazzy samples. But for now, I'm really into the soul samples. And another big reason for it really is I just prefer the energy of it. Now this is something that probably relates to my personality and the way that I am outside of the videos and in my normal day-to-day life. I like to be surrounded by energy and have good energy and positive energy. So moving away from that sort of slow lo-fi vibe and moving back a bit higher in tempo, round about the 80 to 88 kind of BPM. That for me has been really rewarding. I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's more of a reflection of who I am as a person. You know, I want to bring more energy to my beats because I think that reflects my personality a little bit more. So I've got some examples on here that I've been working on over the past couple of weeks, and I really want to do a release. With everything else that I do, it's very hard to find the time to actually sit down and make a release, but hopefully I will be able to find some time at some point somehow and be able to release a proper soul kind of tape onto Spotify, etc. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, this is something that I was working on today. This would have been Friday's video. I released this beat. And another thing that I'm finding with soul as well is when I'm exploring it in the way that I dig for samples, it always kind of kicks up a few other surprises, whereas I found very much with jazz that I was always kind of getting the same sort of results. Now, that might be just the way I was digging, it might be just the way I was looking at samples, but I seem to be always getting these kind of piano samples. Obviously, piano is a big instrument in the jazz genre, but after a while it started to get very repetitive and I would always be sampling the same stuff. Now that I've broken more into soul samples, I think that occasionally they kick up something really random, and that's just really fun because it makes me sample other styles of music. I think a big thing that's happened to me recently as well is that I've managed to figure out how to sample tracks with drums pretty well and be able to mask it. Now that's a huge way of opening things up. Now I know there's a lot of apps now that actually do stem separation with AI, and I really want to do some videos about that, particularly with Koala, and try that for samples. But I found a way that, you know, with my MFX and the way I'm chopping samples, I can mask those quite a lot with the drums that I'm using. So this is an example here. Obviously I just showed you those chops, but if I go to the actual beat for that, personally, I don't really feel like you can even hear the original drums in that track anymore, but if I actually go to the chops, you can hear them. I mean, admittedly, they are very faint in that. In essence, being able to mask over drums and layer your own drums over the top, it really does open things out quite a lot. So it's been really interesting to jump to a kind of different style of beat making. I found it very rewarding. I've been really enjoying putting these beats together. So from this video, really, all I was hoping that you take from it is that you try and choose a style of music which represents you a little bit maybe, and try and put that energy, your personal energy, into the music. If you are a very laid back person, a very chilled person, the chilled samples would work well for you, I guess, because that would show your kind of personality. And like I've done, you know, I feel like I've got a bit more energy. I like to be quite active, so I've kind of started going down these more energetic beats. They're kind of what I'm into at the moment. So yeah, if you fancy mixing things up and trying something like that, maybe you could go down that avenue. You could even just try a new genre for the sake of it. I think I've learned so much from sampling soul music that I could actually now take that back to jazz as well and be able to use that and be able to make better beats. So I think another really good thing about this hop over to a different genre is that I've learned a lot, and it's pushed me to be able to make beats with all kinds of different samples, and it's definitely made me better overall as a beat maker. So just before I leave, guys, I'd love to hear from you. What is your favourite genre to sample? I know there's loads of different little niches out there which people find which are absolutely amazing. I know that Brazilian soul is pretty good, pretty hot. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I'd like to try some of that. I really want to do a whole project sampling Asian, Japanese, Chinese pop music. I think that would be really, really fun and something very different again. At the moment, I'm sampling a lot of soul. I'm really enjoying it. I think it really shows my personality, and hopefully I will be able to show you some tracks at some point properly, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Don't forget to check out my shop, guys. I'd really appreciate it if you could head over there and look at everything that I sell. The links are in the description below, and it keeps me making these videos. But apart from that, keep making beats, and I'll be back very soon.